Today, there is spectacular news for you. The AfD has explained in an interview how it can achieve an absolute majority in the new federal states, even if the established parties do not want to coalition with the AfD. This could allow the AfD to enter the government and we would finally see a 180-degree turnaround. Let's take a look at this spectacular strategy. Here we go. In the new federal states, a spectacular election result could occur, leading the AfD to sole governmental responsibility with an absolute majority. This is despite the firewall between the established parties, and they do not want to form a coalition with the AfD. Now, the big question is, how is that supposed to work? This is due to a specific peculiarity in the electoral law that exists in Saxony and Brandenburg. And this peculiarity is so extreme that all the established parties are already up in arms and want to abolish this peculiarity. And it is about this that Jörg Urban, the AfD's top candidate in Saxony, has expressed in an interview with Junge Freiheit. They wrote about the interview on the state election. AfD top candidate Jörg Urban, our goal is a majority. The newspaper. Mr. Urban secured the government mandate on Sunday. And he will try it because we must take on governmental responsibility in order to change politics. The Institute INSA sees the CDU at 30%, us at 32%, and of course we want to gain more in the final sprint. Furthermore, there is the possibility of winning half of the direct mandates. In other words, we are not that far from an absolute majority. It will be crucial whether the SPD, Greens and Left actually fail to meet the 5% hurdle. We live in incredibly rapid times of change, and one should set high goals and aspirations. So, my dear viewers, the AfD is apparently pursuing a strategy in the new federal states that relies both on direct mandates and on the exclusion of some traffic light parties, thereby aiming for an absolute majority for the AfD in 2021. Indeed, let's take a closer look at the numbers. The state parliament in Saxony has 120 seats, and in Brandenburg there are 88 seats. One half of the seats is defined by the direct candidates, and the other half of the seats is defined by the state list. If a party were to indeed win in every electoral district in a federal state, it would have half of all the seats in the state parliament. However, there is the rule of overhang mandates and compensatory mandates, which means that the party can only receive as many direct mandates as it has second votes. For the AfD, this would be around 30%. The party would not have any mandates or direct mandates removed, but the other parties would simply receive additional seats as compensation to restore the percentages, the so-called compensatory mandates. But in Saxony and in Brandenburg, we have the specific and unique peculiarity that these compensatory mandates are legally capped. And the AfD can make waves in the election. The constitutional bloc wrote, "In without compensation." To address the weaknesses of the electoral system in Brandenburg and Saxony regarding the excessive and costly growth of the state parliaments, Saxony and Brandenburg have described the number of compensatory mandates. In Saxony, there must not be more compensatory mandates than overhang mandates. As a result, the other parties do not have enough mandates available to offset the surplus. The more transitional mandates are allocated, the more distorted the seat distribution becomes. In Brandenburg, the total number of representatives is limited to 110, which leads to the paradoxical result that the number of compensatory mandates decreases as more overhang mandates are created. This distortion effect is further amplified by this situation. Okay, then let's calculate the whole thing for one federal state and see if the AfD can really win through this. Let's take Brandenburg as an example, as it is my home federal state. According to the website Wahlkreisprognose, the AfD is at 29% in Brandenburg, the CDU at 16.5%, BSW at 17%, SPD at 16%, the Free Voters at 5.5%, and the Greens at 5%. The left and FDP fail to meet the 5% hurdle and are eliminated. In Brandenburg, as mentioned, there are 88 seats, and with 29% of the votes, the AfD would receive 26 seats. But of the 44 electoral districts in Brandenburg, 5 and 30 districts are currently firmly in the hands of the AfD, after which the AfD would even receive 5 and 30, instead of just 26 seats. The AfD would therefore receive 9 additional seats, the so-called overhang mandates. As a result, the AfD has 35 more seats in the state parliament than it would be entitled to based on the second votes. According to the electoral law, the other parties now receive approximately 35% compensatory mandates, which gives them 35% more seats in total. The BSW would gain 3 more seats. The CDU would also gain 3 more seats, and the SPD would also gain 3 more seats. The Free Voters and the Greens would receive 1 additional seat. As a result, the number of seats in the parliament would increase to 11. Instead of 88 seats, there would then be 99 seats. And with that, the AfD would have 30 out of 99 seats, already having a majority. And that would be a really big chunk, but still not the absolute majority. However, if to join the Free Voters, who have no firewall against the AfD, then that would result in a total of 4 seats through second votes, a direct mandate, and an overhang mandate. And with that, this coalition would have 9 and 30 out of 99 seats. And then, my dear viewers, the other parties would really have to make an effort, because a coalition of the CDU and, for example, that is exactly what the two want. They would receive a total of 24 seats through second votes, compensatory mandates, and their 4 direct candidates. The SPD would receive 10 seats through second votes and compensatory mandates, plus 4 direct candidates, totaling 14 seats. So if you take the CDU, BSW and SPD together now, that would total 38 seats, compared to the 39 seats of the coalition of AfD and the Free Voters. So indeed, the traffic light parties would have to form a 4-party coalition to gather a majority. The Greens actually bring 3 votes together from 2 compensatory mandates. And that would put the established parties at 41 seats compared to the AfD coalition, and then they would have the majority. However, this is exactly where the problem lies. The Greens are currently at only 5%, just barely above the 5% hurdle. If the Greens receive not 5% but only 4.9%, they would be excluded from the state parliament and there would be no 4-party coalition. And then the AfD could really form the government in 2001. The same could happen if the AfD were to gain more direct mandates. Overall, the Rainbow Coalition has 8 direct mandates, and if a few of those now shift to the AfD or the Free Voters, that would also be good for the AfD coalition. We can therefore conclude that due to the many direct mandates of the AfD and the failure of the traffic light parties to overcome the 5% hurdle, there is indeed a possibility that the AfD could enter the government, even if the governing parties hold on to their firewall. Everything depends on the entry of traffic light parties, especially the Greens, into the state parliaments. And that is exactly the reason why the Greens are currently going so crazy, and especially Katrin Göring-Eckardt is massively calling for second votes for the Greens in Brandenburg. They know themselves that the main parties will experience a major disaster if the Greens are kicked out of parliament. So let's make sure that this dream definitely comes true and the Greens are absolutely kicked out. Share this video here on all social media so that the Greens receive even fewer votes and we can finally achieve a turnaround for our country.